Hello and welcome to FinextraTV. We're here at Money20 in Las Vegas. With me now is Mies from PPRO. Jean, thank you very much for taking the time out of the busy event to come and speak with us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Really good to have you on, and really interested to hear your perspective from Latin America, where you're based. So could you set the scene for us to begin with and tell us how are you seeing the current payments landscape in Latin America, and tell us what makes the culture in the region unique? Let's start there.
Yes, of course. So Latin America is an extremely interesting region from a payments perspective because e-commerce has been growing extremely fast, double-digit growth across the entire region, reaching up to 70% year-over-year growth, depending on the country, of course. At the same time, you see a lot of things happening both on the technology side, but also on the regulatory side, which means that, well, first of all, financial inclusion has been increasing dramatically over the last few years, especially during the pandemic, meaning that more people have access to financial services, bank accounts, electronic payment methods. At the same time, you see regulatory bodies across the region implementing measures that are targeting exactly this. So they want financial inclusion to increase, and they're opening the markets to increase competitiveness of the industry. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, exciting times, a lot of interesting developments there. So what do you think US and global businesses need to consider then when they're looking to do business in the region?
Yeah, so Latin America, like I said, is very peculiar. It's very interesting because it's growing very fast, but it has a lot of complexities as well. So for instance, across Latin America, people, well, to put it the other way, Latin America is essentially a cash-based industry or a region, right? So people in the stores, they many times use cash. If you move to e-commerce, scenario changes completely. Most of the markets there, countries there, you see credit cards being the predominant payment method for e-commerce. But then again, you have different flavors. And what I mean by that is that in some markets, in most of the markets actually, people like to pay in installments. So they buy an item and like to pay this item in up to 12 months, right? So if you will, Latin America is the inventor of the buy now, pay later mode of payment, right? At the same time, fraud is a big problem or a big issue across Latin America. Latin America is the region that has the most fraud cases. Around 20% of all transactions are fraudulent there. So the advice that I would give to companies, trying to sell into Latin America is to be mindful of payment patterns, payment preferences of the consumer population there, and also be very aware of the fraud risk and financial fraud risk as well.
All right, that's interesting. So you've touched on it already a little bit. So what are the more fast-paced trends, and what might be some of those challenges? And like I say, you've touched on that already, but how are we meeting those challenges moving forward?
Yeah, so with the increase of financial inclusion and the share of the population using electronic payment methods, you see a migration from cash-based payment methods to electronic payment methods, which is a positive move because on one hand this provides convenience and safety for the consumers, right? They don't have to walk around with cash in their pockets. At the same time, like I said before, it increases the care that you need to take about fraud. In terms of trends, what we have seen more recently is that instant payments are picking up extremely across the region there. So in countries like Brazil, for instance, instant payment methods like PIX, which is the most probably well-known across the region, has been growing significantly. So today more than 130 million Brazilians use PIX on a daily basis. And also you see that the volume of instant payment methods is increasing like crazy. So $200 billion processed every month with PIX. And this is a trend that you see across the entire region. So in other countries like Argentina, Mexico and Colombia, they're also starting to pick up instant payment method technologies and implementing them in their regions as well.
Well, as I say, it's really interesting to hear what's happening in the region and those developments, and I think some good advice weaved in there as well. But look, we'll leave it there. I'll let you get back to the event, but thank you so much for sharing your insights today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.